Welcome to China Truths. In this episode, we will bring you the following story. Flu drug sales surge as virus deaths mount in China. Now, let's dive into the details. It's China Truths. Flu drug sales surge as virus deaths mount in China. Recently, various viruses have been raging in mainland China, and the number of people infected has continued to increase. Among them, many young people and children have died after being infected. Although the Chinese authorities concealed and downplayed the true situation, the people did not believe it and rushed to buy antipyretic or fever-reducing drugs, and searches and orders on multiple drug purchasing platforms have seen a sharp increase. On January 5, the Blue Sky Rescue Team of Xixiannu District, Shaanxi Province released an obituary saying that Yang Chao, the captain of the second team of the former water squadron of the rescue team, unfortunately passed away due to illness on January 1 at 35 years old. Yang Chao was born in January 1990 in Ganxian County, Xianyang, Shaanxi Province, and joined the Blue Sky Rescue Team in August 2022, with the team ID MUI and the number Shaanxi U0115. A mainland Weibo medical blogger revealed in a Weibo post that Yang Chao was suspected of being infected with the virus, had a fever, and was 35 years old. Viruses come one after another, causing some young people who could have gone a long way to die prematurely. People treat it as a cold, not knowing that it can actually kill people. On the mainland Xiaohongshu platform, a letter from a mother to her child showed that on January 1, her second son died of influenza A invading the brain. The child started to have a fever on December 27, 2024, and was hospitalized the next day. He was admitted to the ICU and was treated for nearly 5 days, but he still passed away. Her eldest son was also in the ICU. The two children were twins. A netizen on Weibo posted that there was a nurse in her mother's hospital who died of acute myocarditis caused by a fever of influenza A and died before the age of 30. Netizen said, "Acute myocarditis, there are too many in hospitals in Beijing recently, and no one is reporting it. It's abnormal that the topic of influenza can be so popular before the new year, which means the situation must be worse than it seems. In Fengtai, Beijing, everyone I know has had symptoms of colds, runny noses, coughs, and headaches recently. Don't you think it's scary? There is news of children dying every day." On the Meituan mainland shopping platform, a user searched for the influenza A susceptibility index and found that the infection rate has risen sharply across the country in recent days. The screenshot shows that the flu index in Zhengzhou, Hunan province this week has increased by 280% compared to last week. Shenzhen's flu index this week rose 811% compared with last week. Guangzhou netizens said that Guangzhou also exceeded 700%. Foshan's 871% was 280% higher than last week, and Chengdu was 245% higher than last week. A netizen from Changsha, Hunan province said, "The flu has taken off, and it's also very severe in Changsha. I can't post pictures." On Meituan, the influenza A susceptibility index is calculated based on user searches, consultations, and drug purchases. As the number of infected people increases, sales of antiviral drugs are on the rise. On January 7, according to mainland China's The Paper, the search volume and sales of anti-influenza drugs such as oseltamivir and mabiloxavir have also increased significantly in recent days on major pharmaceutical e-commerce platforms. It has been reported before that some pharmacies are out of stock or have tight supply of anti-influenza drugs, and that some drugs have been sold at high prices. According to the report, since the beginning of December, the sales of drugs in the 4 major categories in stores across the country, including anti-cold drugs, expectorant cough and asthma drugs, heat-clearing and detoxification drugs, antibacterial and anti-inflammatory drugs, have increased to varying degrees. Among the anti-cold drugs, oseltamivir phosphate, cold spirit, and antiviral ingredients have risen significantly. In the past 7 days, oseltamivir phosphate has increased by 1,139% year-on-year in December, antiviral has increased by 242%, and loquat has increased by 176%. On a number of e-commerce platforms, sales of anti-influenza drugs have also soared. On January 6, the demand for Mabiloxavir skyrocketed, appeared on Taobao hot search. According to the relevant data of Meituan, on January 5, the search demand for oseltamivir increased by nearly 100% week-on-week, and the search demand for Mabiloxavir increased by more than 300% week-on-week, of which the regions with large increases were mainly concentrated in South China and East China. On January 5, JD.com's orders for flu medicine increased by 2.2 times compared with last week. According to the data of Dingdang Fast Medicine, the sales of drugs for respiratory diseases continued to rise, and the sales growth rate of anti-influenza drugs oseltamivir and Mabiloxavir was as high as 164% in December. At the same time, the sales volume of cold and fever products increased significantly. Taking the commonly used antipyretic patches as an example, the month-on-month sales growth rate was 181.5%. According to the data of One Drug Network, compared with the two time periods of November and December, the sales volume of cold products on the B2B platform increased by 30.43%, Mabiloxavir increased by 3,835.34%, oseltamivir phosphate capsules increased by 916.53%, and oseltamivir phosphate granules increased by 245.15%. In addition, the sales volume of colds on the B2C platform increased by 103.87%, and specific to products, Mabiloxavir increased by 1,742.86%, oseltamivir phosphate capsules increased by 1,114.98%, and oseltamivir phosphate granules increased by 883.33%. Not only medicines, but also masks began to be in short supply, and some netizens said, "I went to several stores these days, but there are no N95s for sale." On January 2, China's Center for Disease Control and Prevention (CDC) released the National Sentinel Surveillance of Acute Respiratory Infectious Diseases, Week 52 of 2024, saying that acute respiratory infectious diseases are currently showing a continuous upward trend, and there are differences in the trend of infection caused by different pathogens. Influenza is generally in a seasonal epidemic period, and the positive rate of influenza virus is increasing rapidly. On the same day, the CDC released the 837th China Influenza Surveillance Weekly Report for the 52nd week of 2024, showing that the positive rate of influenza virus tests in southern and northern provinces continued to rise this week, with the H1N1, PDM09 subtype being the main one, and more than 90% of them were influenza A. Thank you for watching.